All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I have my super amazing friend, Ashley Tosti, joining us today. And so something that's a big hot topic right now, and I think it's really important, and where our two worlds collide, right, is one, how do you protect your assets? All your hard-earned assets that you've worked so hard for in your life, from real estate to cash to everything else, and what is a great powerful legal tool that you can use to make sure that you are protected, whether now or maybe when you are unfortunately no longer with us, right?
Yes.
Dare I say with us.
Yes.
So, and that tool is what, madam?
That is Living Trust.
Living Trust tool.
Yeah.
It is a Living Trust tool. And this is becoming a real hot button on topic. I'm sorry, I got all my things from the fidget with. I'll move them aside. But let's talk about the importance of a trust. Why don't we delve into that? So what is a trust? What is this typically replacing that people might historically be more familiar with, right?
So people tend to use the term trust and will kind of simultaneously.
Yes.
They are different.
Yes.
In California, a will is not going to protect your assets from going into probate. A will is good for people who literally have nothing.
Sure.
No real property.
They have things.
They have things. They just don't have real property. Maybe a little bit of a bank account, but that's it. The Living Trust is going to save your family from going into probate after you pass away. I mean, you're already grieving the death of someone, so why are you going to want to go to court, spend $10,000 plus, and then a year and a half tied up in the court system? So
and getting probably a fraction of maybe what you should have gotten. Is that a fair estimate?
Depending on how you go about it. So if you get attorneys involved, yes, they are taking a percentage based upon the entire value of the estate.
Gotcha.
My company, we do probates as well. We charge a flat fee, so we're not taking any percentages. So you're still getting a pretty big chunk.
So upsell. Shameless self-promotion.
Yes, but we would prefer doing Living Trust.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's expand for folks who don't know what probate is.
Sure.
Yeah.
So probate is simply just a procedure that happens when someone passes away. They don't pass with a will or a trust, and you have to have a court determine who your heirs are.
Gotcha.
So anything valued at over $160,000 in our state is going to trigger you to go to probate court.
Okay.
So anyone with real property.
Okay. And let's say they do have a will, they will still need to go to probate, correct?
Correct.
If they do not have a living trust.
Correct. If their assets are valued over $160,000.
Okay. And we go through that a lot because, probate can be a drawn out process sometimes. It can be expensive, whereas a trust would have literally bypassed that whole process and clearly expelled out who is getting what and when and why, right? Is that a fair breakdown? Okay.
Yes.
So let's see here. So what does it involve? How tedious, how taxing? What are we looking at as far as establishing a living trust?
So people think it's going to be a lot more crazy in depth than it really is. I mean, we need to know who's going to be the owners of the trust. So is it you or is it you and a spouse? And then do you have children? Who are you going to want to be in charge of this trust once you pass away? And then who are your beneficiaries going to be? Is it going to go equally? Is it going to go unequally?
But on that note, let's expand on the duties of a beneficiary and who might be executing the directions or whatever is spelled out in that living trust.
So the beneficiary is just the person receiving. That's it. Their job is to just get their inheritance and be happy. The successor trustee is the person who is executing the trust.
Gotcha.
So they are going to be coming in, sitting with an attorney, sitting with someone like me, and doing the deed transfer, signing over the assets, making sure all the beneficiaries have seen a copy of the trust so that there are no secrets.
Gotcha. Okay. And, I work alongside also a lot of attorneys as well, and they might get upset for me for saying this, but they do charge a lot for what they do. And, lots of times, and I've heard this from my own tax legal advisors, et cetera, that, in many instances, a family or, let's say, a married couple, they might go to the family attorney and say, hey, you know what, for $400, we're going to have you draft our will, right? And that attorney will usually want to do that because even though it's a low cost for the will, where they're really getting compensated and making their money is going to probate once that person passes. because they're more inclined, I would say the family that is more inclined, right, to use that same attorney that drafted the will. Heck, why not use them as well for probate? But those bills can add up, $350, $400 an hour per se. In legal fees plus whatever costs and timeline established. And again, that can really start eating away at your assets, right? Of going, dang, I did my research.
Yes.
I did my research. No, I like it. I like it.
All true.
So super important there. And a lot of people are taking this route, right? It's much more cost effective. It's safer in the sense that you are having a lot more protection. You're protected, I would have to say. I think that's the safest thing to say. And it is deemed as an entity, correct? Is that a fair estimate or fair?
I mean, you're owning it. The trust is owning it,
Sure.
but you are still in charge. So I guess
still managing, much like an LLC or corporation, which is deemed as an entity, right?
Right.
We represent a lot of people with trust, and if they're buying something on behalf or selling on behalf of their trust, of course they would sign as trustee, right? And then go. So ultimately, kind of looked at as an entity. And again, I'm just throwing out, and I don't want to get into the weeds on that per se. But overall protection, I'm just going to drop my gems here for you. So what does the timeline look like for establishing a living trust, and what does that cost look like?
So we work pretty quickly because we want to get you protected as fast as we can. So we do an initial intake. We set aside about an hour. Usually people don't go over the hour. And then from there we have about a 2-week turnaround where we prepare the documents, you come back in.
Sure.
We do all of the notarization complimentary for our clients.
Okay.
Then you're good to go.
I like it. So that's typical turnaround within a couple of weeks. Meaning from consultation, initial consult,
to finish, 2 weeks.
To getting it done in the process. Okay. And so let's say, for example, actually, I get my living trust established, and then I say, you know what, 2 months later, hey, you know what, little Billy, I'm sorry.
You're out.
You're out. What is that then? Are we done? Is little Billy still the beneficiary getting everything, or how does that work with a living trust? Is it easy to amend?
Yes, it's very easy to amend. So we only deal with revocable trusts.
Okay.
We do not touch irrevocable trusts. Those are typically used in very specific situations that we just don't get into.
Okay.
So revocable, you can make changes up until you die, as long as you have capacity to do so. So you want to change your beneficiary and Billy's out, then we do an amendment. We change that portion, and he's gone.
Let's say Billy was a good kid, right? And you got your living trust established. Now he's a rowdy, disrespectful teenager, and you said, you know, Billy, hey, we're going to give you everything, right? But we want you to be 30 years old, and we want you to have a bachelor's degree, and maybe have some sort of other something under their belt to show that, hey, Billy is now a tried and true, responsible adult who is worthy of receiving our assets.
Right.
Can that criteria be set, and what does that look like?
To an extent.
Woo!
So
right, here we go.
The age thing I get.
Yeah.
The adding the stipulations to, you have to have a bachelor's degree, you have to do this, you are muddying your waters.
Gotcha. You're overcomplicating it.
Yeah, to where it could leave room for contesting. If everybody agrees to those conditions, then you're in the clear and they follow the trust the way that you want. So the way that it is kind of proposed to people is if you cannot give that gift freely, maybe that is not the person you should be giving the gift to.
Got it. Oop.
Yeah.
All right, so Billy's got to be on his P's and Q's. His P's and Q's.
Yeah.
I like it. So in conclusion and summary, guys, you want to be protecting your assets. A will is not enough in most instances because most likely your heirs will probably be getting a fraction of what you had intended to convey to them, right, or pass along, right?
Sure.
So living trust is going to avoid that. It's going to minimize costs, fees, headache, and potentially heartache down the road, right? And so what does that typically run? Let's say I said, actually, you know what, let's get rocking and rolling on our living trust. What is that? We know timeline. What are we looking at cost-wise?
Cost-wise, we offer 2 packages. So we have the living trust, which is $6.99, and that includes the transfer of 1 piece of real property. So if you own multiple pieces of real property, the price goes up depending on how many deeds there are.
Okay.
We do offer the estate plan package as well, which is the living trust, the property, your power of attorney, and your healthcare directive.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
okay.
And that's the $950.
Got it. Okay, so a few package options, super affordable, much cheaper than probate.
Yes,
right?
much.
Absolutely. to get that going there. So let's say they say, actually, you know what, my living trust wizard, where do I find you guys?
We have a website, pinklegal.com.
Okay.
We are on the corner of Halcyon and Grand, temporarily. Not there, but
she's here
we'll
right
be
now.
back.
She's here right now, technically on
Yeah.
Grand Street, on
Yeah.
East Branch, but she
Yes.
will be on the corner of Halcyon and Grand.
Yeah, but yeah, we have a website, and that's pretty much where everyone finds us.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Guys, hope you took some notes. If not, just rewatch the video, the luxury of having videos and access to it. But I appreciate you as always tuning in, and I hope this was great value. Thanks so much.